Bryce Harper is the most clutch athlete I've seen in my lifetime. We're going to talk about the wondrous night last night next here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. Welcome in, everyone, to the PHLY Phillies podcast, postseason edition. We call it Red October here in Philadelphia, and it is brought to you by our friends at Ace Hardware. Red October is powered by Ace Hardware Home Services. So visit acehardwarehomeservices.com, acehardwarehomeservices.com. Yeah, I doubted what I said, even though my eyeballs read it, and I said it, and then I heard it, and I went, wait, did I really just read that right? So yes, let me just say that one more time for you. acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started with your next project. The tease there, Renee, was Bryce Harper's the most clutch athlete I've ever seen in my lifetime. I don't think it's close. As much as Nick Castellanos and Bryson Stott, the birthday boy yesterday, got all the accolades. Bryce Harper might have saved the Phillies season.
Yeah.
That home run yesterday to make that a game, to resuscitate 45,000 people to get back into that game. The dugout got life. You saw Castellanos turn on a pitch immediately afterwards. Bryce Harper changed everything, and we'll read some numbers about Bryce and the historicness of what he's doing. But my God, there has not been a better signing in Philadelphia sports history. Him and Zach Wheeler are it.
Yeah. Honestly, when you think about yesterday's game, in order for Bryson Stott to have the go-ahead 2-run RBI, in order for Nick Castellanos to book it from first all the way home and then get the walk-off, in order for all these things to happen, it starts with Bryce Harper. And we've talked about it before. Even back at the trade deadline, I remember us talking about, what does this team need to be able to go far in the playoffs? They need Bryce Harper to show up. They need Bryce Harper to help deliver. And unfortunately, opponents aren't pitching to him, and we know why. But for Bryce Harper, you talk about clutch, he is a guy that this team goes as he goes.
Yeah.
He drastically changes the game. 2-run homer, brings the game within one, allows, after that, Nick Castellanos to get the tying home run. It starts with Bryce Harper. We saw him even earlier in the game. We talked about that great play he made at first, chucks the ball into the stands.
Yeah.
The vibes start to pick up even in that moment. So it's the little things that he does. And then when he has the ability to hit home runs, it directly correlates to success for the Phillies, especially come postseason time. You need him to find ways to give you good at-bats. This team goes as he goes.
Yeah, and I just want to flash this one graphic if Tyler is able right now. Tyler is battling all computers and all technology everywhere the last 48 hours. He hates it all. He's about to become, you ever see Office Space?
This is my villain origin story.
This is the Joker story. In Office Space when they take the computer printer out and they, damn, it feels good to be a gangster. Tyler wants to, damn, it feels good to be a gangster to every piece of computer we have at PHLY. But here's the graphic, and it is Bryce Harper's greatness summed up in one picture, Renee. And we're going to read some of the numbers that Jason Stark put out, which are just mind-boggling. But with a minimum 150 postseason plate appearances, Bryce Harper is now just behind these fellas named Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. I'll have to do some more research on the two of those and find out what they're all about, but they seem like they were pretty good at
Sarcasm,
baseball.
for those that don't know Jamie's sarcastic tone.
And what's even more amazing, Rich pointed out in his morning newsletter, everybody sign up for the newsletter. It's awesome. No BS. If you just took Bryce Harper's Phillies postseason OPS, he's actually better than Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth.
Wild.
I just said that. I just said
he's
that.
the best player ever. Is what
I just said that Bryce Harper's Phillies postseason numbers in terms of OPS are better than Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth. That is a real sentence I get to say here on the show. That's pretty fun.
That's very fun, and that's something. You know what? It's when we're so close, especially when you look at the last few seasons, the World Series run, the NLCS run, and this current playoffs. You look at all three postseasons. Yes, it's so easy to get caught up in the frustrations because this team has absolutely taken us on a roller coaster emotionally. Yesterday was in itself chaotic, crazy, the highs, the lows. But when you really take a step back and you look at where has this team been amazing, it starts with Bryce Harper. I mean, you mentioned the numbers for him in the postseason.
It's incredible.
We're talking the best this is the biggest
He's the greatest
moment.
baseball player alive.
This is basically saying he's the best baseball player ever, guys. But the playoffs are where this is where big players thrive. This is it. The 162 games are the appetizer, it feels like, when it comes to the playoffs. This is the main course. This is what you prepare for. This is what all the months are for. And when you have guys that step up in this moment the way Bryce Harper consistently can, we kind of take it for granted. And I'm glad you have all these numbers. And I'm glad we're seeing all these numbers because this team is special. Bryce Harper is special. And they need to go, now that the series is split, and continue to build off of this.
Yeah, I can't think of a more clutch.
Go back the distance.
I can't think of a more clutch player. Like, I just can't. I'm a man. I'm 40. I can't think of somebody that's more
40.
That's more clutch. Like, you just have this supreme confidence in this guy. Now, if you just took his Phillies OPS in the postseason since he's been here, it's a 1.175. That is absolutely bat-ass crazy. I'm trying not to curse for you, Samsung. That is crazy to think about that. You know, I guess his Nats numbers really dragged him down to third all time. The guy really stinks. But Jason Stark from The Athletic, he's just one of the best when it comes to stats and rarity of things happening.
All the numbers.
Jason Stark is just, he's in Cooperstown. He's that good. Here's some of the things he dug up on Bryce Harper. Buckle up because this is very horny stuff. He now has 12 postseason home runs as a Philly, all since 2022. That's tied for the most by anyone in baseball. The guy he's tied with, his long ball partner, Kyle Schwarber. Mm-hmm. Think about those two signings. They're the two franchise leaders in postseason home runs in such a short period of time.
Very short period.
His team has now won all 12 straight postseason games in which he's made a home run trot. According to the Elias Sports Bureau, Jason Stark says, via MLB's wondrous Sarah Langs, who we'll get to in a little bit because she is awesome, it's the longest postseason streak in history that the team has just continued to win with. His 32 postseason games with the Phillies, Harper has now rolled up a 327 batting average, a 727 slugging percentage, and a 1.170 OPS. Jason says, does that seem good? Well, here's how good it is. In the history of baseball, only one man has ever topped that slugging percentage in OPS in his first 32 games with any team. That would be Lou Gehrig, who slugged 756 and had a 1.262 OPS in his first 32 postseason games as a Yankee. That is how good this man has been. We'll get to Bryson Stott. We'll get to Nick Castellanos. But Bryce Harper might have legitimately saved the season, Renee.
Yeah.
And when you heard the guys in the locker room talking about it, Bryce is throwing all the praise to Nick. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. I love the pandering with the Rocky answer. But JT said it. He said there was a tightness coming into this postseason.
Absolutely.
And I think Bryce Harper's home run yesterday, look, they got to go out and do it in game 3, but I think it could have opened up the at-ease approach they need to successfully go on.
And this is why, as I know Matt Gelb was tweeting out earlier today, that Bryce Harper's only seen 48 pitches in the NLDS, has seen 48 pitches in the NLDS, and only 13 of them have been in the strike zone. Opponents are not pitching to Bryce Harper. They will walk him. They'll do whatever they have to do to avoid pitching him for a reason. We talked about the importance of who's ever in the cleanup hole, whoever's batting after him, Nick Castellanos, that you need them to be able to step up because the expectation is Bryce is not going to see good pitches. And for him to have a chance to hit a 2-run home run yesterday, to put the Phillies on the scoreboard, an offense that's been struggling prior to that home run, they had from between the first game after Kyle Schwarber's leadoff, of course we saw Cody Clemens' RBI late, to the start of game 2, the offense hadn't given you anything. We're struggling to get hits. They had 2 hits prior to Bryce Harper's home run. Obviously, we're not scoring runs. You can't score runs if you're not getting hits. I mean, yes, you can walk, but you do need to get some hits to score runs. So to have your leader And we talked about it. And I know people in our watch on were saying, like, is someone going to rally the troops and huddle them up? The best way to rally the troops, to smash the ball at the ballpark. The best way to get the energy up and to take some of that pressure off the team's shoulders, hit home runs. Or just it doesn't even have to be home runs. Give something in your at-bats. And for Bryce Harper in that moment to put them on the scoreboard, to close the gap, that was right after Jose Ruiz gave up the single home run to Pete Alonso. So you're down 3-0. It's the sixth inning. It's in a moment, a very pivotal moment of the game. And this is what big game players do. They step up when their team needs it most, and they find a way. And he did that. And I do agree with you. And I hope the Phillies take this opportunity. We hope that it would be Zach Wheeler's incredible pitching performance. That was not the case. Hopefully it's Bryce Harper's 2-run home run that is the series shifting play that allows them to continue this moving forward. Yeah,
I mean, if you trust what the guys were saying in there, I think JT is probably one of the more. I said a real weird. I was like probably.
It's okay.
It was a weird probably.
It's fine.
I apologize, everyone. Probably. JT is probably one of the more cerebral.
Oh, you're holding yourself accountable. Accountability starts here. Yeah, we have a high bar.
Probably one of the more cerebral types in that locker room. Mm-hmm. Catchers usually are because they have so much going on at all times. You got to be dialed in. For him to say that he felt like it broke through, I think that's not nothing. I think that means a lot. And hopefully the guys are at ease. And Game 3 is going to be tumultuous.
Probably.
And you can join us. Probably. You should join us tomorrow at Gall & Co. in Port Richmond. We did the London party there at Gall & Co. It's a beautiful old church transformed into a bar. Huge spacious. There's like skee ball and arcades and great TVs. Miller Lights are going to be flowing. So you should come join us. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing pregame starting at 4:30, I believe. 4:30 pregame. We're going to be at Gall & Co. hanging out in Port Richmond with you and the Witterwikowskis, and then postgame immediately from there. So hopefully you guys can come join us tomorrow to watch Aaron Nola take the mound up in Queens, all brought to you by our friends at Miller Lite at Gall & Co. But hopefully, Renee, the offense travels. And right now, I could be looking at this through a Phillies a bias, but I think it's going to travel. I do think that home run changed things.
Yeah, and we had even talked about...
Could be wishful thinking. We'll talk about that on Wednesday morning.
We got to be optimistic here. They've got nothing else to go for. Listen, we talked about the shakeups in the lineup of Alec Bohm not starting and Mundo Sosa starting. Rob Thompson mentioning wanting and hoping Sosa would be the energy. The energy was just Bryce Harper, is what it came down to. I mean, it followed suit after that. We had, of course, back-to-back home runs with Nick Castellanos. And I just can't say enough about the day that Nick had of the home run, solo home run, the run from first to home
after
Bryson
cursing
Stott's,
us under his breath.
Yep, Bryson Stott's 2-run RBI, and Nick Castellanos was asked, like, when was the moment you knew you were going to get to home? He's like, as soon as Stott hit it. Like, no hesitation. As soon as the ball left Bryson Stott's bat, he was gone. Bryce Harper was waving him along the entire time, and Harper told him, you better get to home, and he did. And then, of course, the walk-off RBI. You have Bryson Stott on his birthday, who made some history himself, becoming the first Major League Baseball player in history with a go-ahead hit in the 8th inning or later of a postseason game on their birthday. That was Elias Stats Bureau that put that out. And we saw last year he had a grand slam around his birthday. This year he had the go-ahead run. You need these moments where you can start to feel like we talk so much about vibes and energy and how contagious it is. This team was struggling offensively. They needed something for the offense, just like they need something for the bullpen. And we'll talk about the bullpen, of course, as well. But those have been the two areas that they've been struggling. The starting pitching from Zach Wheeler to Christopher Sanchez has been great this postseason. Those other two areas haven't been there. And that's the trifecta. That's the triangle you need to be able to make a deep run in the playoffs. Starting pitching, bullpen, offensive production. So if the offensive production can come around, I'm a little more optimistic that the bullpen can follow suit.
Well, if you have interest in going to the game tomorrow, let me take a second here to tell you about a way you can find your way up to Queens. And that is with our friends over at the Game Time app. Game Time is awesome. We've been telling about you about them since we started here at the Game Time or at PHLY, and I've used Game Time several times. I use it. Hey, I'm all over the place. I'm all giddy for baseball. I used it at Wrigley Field this summer. I've used it for concert tickets with my wife. I used it for a comedy event in town with some buddies. Game Time is awesome. My favorite thing, the all-in pricing. You get to see right up front what it's going to cost you at the end, so you're not hit over the head with those hidden fees when you're about to check out and all of a sudden your bill's $65 more than you thought it was going to be. So Game Time won't do that to you. Why? Because they care about you. They want you to know the all-in pricing. The second thing is the seat views. They're awesome. You can find out exactly what view you're going to have. Depending on what event you're going to, you might want different views, different experiences, whatever. You can check that out. And the Game Time guarantee. They'll credit you up to 110% of the difference if you find something cheaper. So they care about you at Game Time. The Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. So whether it's a Game 5 on Friday or you want to go up to Queens tomorrow, whatever it is, use the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, just create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time!
Let me tell you about our friends over at Shady Rays, because Shady Rays gives you the premium polarized shades. They're an independent sunglasses company that provides you with hundreds of great options to choose from. What I enjoy about Shady Rays is the fact that you have plenty of different styles, shapes. Personally, sunglasses, I feel like everybody has a specific face for sunglasses. Some need more of the slimmer frames, some need more of the bulky frames. And with Shady Rays, they have all the different options for you. Now, the benefits are, in addition to those hundreds of different options, is the fact that they've had 300,000 people.
That's a lot.
Over 300,000 people rate them 5 stars. The numbers don't lie. Women lie, numbers, men lie, numbers don't lie. That's a song. And so with Shady Rays... With Shady Rays, you get a chance to know that you're also going to get the support of knowing if you want to exchange your sunglasses at any point. If you want to exchange them, they've got their 30-day return worry-free guarantee. They also have other customer service procedures in place to help you make sure if you lose them or you just want a new pair, that they are there to help support you. Because with Shady Rays, again, as that independent sunglasses company, you're going to get the sleek frames. You're going to get the frames that don't get tangled in your hair, that don't easily break. They're very durable, they're very strong, and they're stylish. We love stylish shades that match any fit, any look, whatever your swag is that you're looking to match and pair with. Shady Rays has a pair just for you with these quality shades built to last. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. You can head on over to shadyrays.com, use code PHLY, and get 35% off your polarized sunglasses. Try them for yourself. The shades that are rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people with our friends over at Shady Rays.
All right, this is the PHLY Phillies postseason Red October edition, brought to you by our friends over at AceHardwareHomeServices.com. Yesterday was really incredible. I just kind of woke up this morning. I couldn't really sleep last night. I read Matt Gelb. I read Jim Salisbury. I read Jason Stark. I went to all the baseball guys. I was reading Zalecki. I just was like, give me all the content.
Of course.
Let me watch Brandon Nimmo and try and figure out what he's saying as he crossed home plate. Let me watch the home runs on repeat. I was just like consuming it all like a total baseball fatso. Just give me all the Big Macs. Brandon Nimmo, by the way, apparently said, where's Christopher Sanchez? Where's Sanchez at? He coming back out to JT, which is implying that I guess we own your bullpen. You're going to need your starters to beat us. Cool. He did hit a home run, so whatever. Brandon Nimmo's on the hate list with Pete Alonso and Vientos, who's very good. But some great stuff happened. Bryson Stott, well, his 2-run triple in the 8th inning, Renee, was the first go-ahead hit by a Philly in the postseason. Did you read this yesterday?
No.
In the 8th inning or later, since Real Muto hit a homer October 28th, 2022, in the 10th inning of Game 1 of the World Series. Stott is just the second player in postseason history to hit a triple on his birthday. And I will give $5 to either of you if you can name who the other player to hit a postseason triple on their birthday is.
It's not a Philly.
It's not a Philly. He did play for the Mets.
Can we get a time frame?
I know, like such a wide open
since
answer.
2000.
Is he still an active player?
No. I think he's playing in the Mexican League. He's a great player, though.
Oh,
In the Mexican League.
That was a hint.
Yoenis Cespedes.
No, but good guess.
I don't know.
Robinson Cano.
Oh, okay.
So Bryson Stott, Robinson Cano. In you want some barroom trivia that nobody will
Interesting.
ever get?
I wouldn't have canoed that. I would have canoed that.
What player hit a triple on their birthday in postseason history? Nobody's going to know that answer.
Never.
But Bryson Stott
Never
and
got
Robinson Cano, boys. That was really good for Bryson Stott. Tyler and I were talking about it a little bit this morning. His approach seemed to be getting better. We can ask Jim about that if he's noticed that.
Yeah.
But it almost seemed like Cody Clemens kind of changed things yesterday.
He did. I feel like he did.
Going up there and just being like, hey, guys, you can give good at-bats here. We can foul some off. We can stay alive. We can work a pitcher. And it seemed to, Bryce obviously hits the home run, but I think the approach changed a little bit there late in the game, and Cody Clemens might have been a reason for it.
I honestly do feel like that. I mean, you look at even the RBI he got game 1 late. It's just spraying the ball into gaps. It's getting singles. It doesn't have to be home run or bust. And I think a guy like Cody Clemens, one of the good things that he does add to this lineup, whether he's coming in as a pinch hitter or whatever role he wears, is he's going to just do the little things. And I think, to be honest, in the playoffs, and in big moments, you do need those guys, those role players that can just do their part and do something small. Because Cody Clemens is not coming up there to bat with the expectation of, I got to win this game. He's coming up there to just make a play. Just show that he's a good pinch hitter. And I think between game 1 and game 2, you look at his at-bats, solid was exactly what you need. And I think you need more of that. Spraying the ball into the pockets, singles, doubles, drawing walks, whatever you got to do to keep the inning alive. And I hope that more guys can kind of feed off of what Cody Clemens has been able to do.
Yeah, I hope I can high-five the Rocket on Broad Street one of these days soon. But Cody Clemens was interesting. Tyler, let's share the infamous Sarah Langs. Whee!
Oh, yeah.
Because you want to talk about a heart attack city game yesterday. I mean, the fact that Vientos hit that ball at his chin 105 miles out and pulled it, what the hell was that? And we'll get into the bullpen issues and we'll talk to Jim about some of that.
Crazy.
But look at the just absurdity of this game win probability yesterday. If you're unfamiliar, Sarah Langs does great job covering Major League Baseball, and whenever a game is back and forth and up and down, she always tweets out the win probability chart. And look at this thing. This is a roller coaster, up and down all over the place. And then Vientos hits that top of the ninth home run there, and our hearts sunk and the win probability went back up, and then the Phillies just go ahead and win it. So
Yeah, I'm sick of Mark Vientos, and he's a player that is playing very well right now, unfortunately. Did become the youngest player with 3 extra base hits in playoffs, got the 2-run homer. He's someone that has been single-handedly driving me nuts from the Mets. It's him, it's Pete Alonso, it's Brandon Nimmo, so I guess it's not just him. It's a collective group of guys that just don't go away. They just don't go away. And I think those pesky, it's taking me back so much the Diamondbacks last year. And I hate to be triggered by it. But they had the same thing. You look at the Corbin Carrolls and Ketel Martes and guys that just would not go away. They're like a mosquito or a fly that's buzzing around that you're trying to swat and it won't go away. So I'm really hopeful that at Citi Field, the Phillies can get after them, because the other part of this is the Mets haven't played at home since September 22nd.
Yeah, they've been on road
and when they
warrior
left,
trip.
they didn't know if they were going to come back.
Yeah.
So the difference is the Phillies knew. I mean, honestly, we knew there was going to be home games for the Phillies, and they were going to be a higher seed, and the goal was a first-round bye, but we knew they'd be a higher seed, and that was pretty early. I mean, it was May that they took over a top spot. So we've known for a while we were going to get playoff baseball at Citizens Bank Park. The Mets didn't know if they were going to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
They didn't know if they were going to be back at Citi Field when they left September 22nd. And they've been in Atlanta, in Milwaukee. They've, obviously been here in Philly. So we know their fans are going to be so excited that they're back for the playoffs, because they weren't expecting that. So I just would love nothing more than for the Phillies to go in there and spoil it, score all over them, just return the favor.
I think there's going to be more Phillies fans well, I really wanted to curse. I never call it Citi Field. I call it the other version.
I know.
I think there's going to be more Phillies fans there than there were Mets fans in Philly.
Oh, I agree.
Because there
I
really
agree.
wasn't. Like, Phillies fans,
Yeah.
kudos. Not, taking top dollar on the secondary market there and selling to the people from Rat City. But I think there's going to be more Phillies fans up there than down here. Now, there's a couple interesting things coming up. You're going to face two lefties in a row. And Rob Thompson alluded to it. You might be seeing Edmundo Sosa and Austin Hayes starting. I think Hayes is a lock. Sosa, I would imagine so. Part of me, and we're going to ask Jim about this decision, part of me wants to, Bryson Stott had such a big moment that part of me it would pain me to put him on the bench for matchup purposes. You hope a moment like that can spur
and
and
defensively
start
he's
up.
been playing really well.
Yeah,
of course,
and Sosa's solid, but certainly not Stott at second. It's going to be interesting to see what Rob does here. He said he's going to go back to Bohm for Game 3. Bohm had a terrible at bat yesterday. What are you swinging first pitch at? So there's
After
a couple
being on the bench.
Yeah, there's a couple interesting Game 3 lineup scenarios. We'll talk about Jim Salisbury with them, but Austin Hayes and Edmundo Sosa, come on down.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I know Mickey Durkin's in the chat, aside from Bohm, the other player that's struggling is Marsh. I think if you're gonna tinker with the lineup, it's got to be the guys that are struggling. And for Bryson Stott yesterday, the great defensive play, the go-ahead 2 RBIs, I agree with you. I actually think I'm keeping him in the lineup. I know Rob and his staff are very big on the lefty-righty split, but I don't think there's a way you can justify not starting Bryson Stott after yesterday's performance. Not to mention Edmundo Sosa, unfortunately, an error, didn't look good in his at-bats. So, in this situation, if this is the regular season, which we saw in the regular season, totally fine. But a Game 3 at Citi Field with a chance to take the series lead, and for a Mets team that's looking for their first trip back to the NLCS since 2015, that's hungry, back at home, I think you got to go with whoever's got the hot hand. To me, it's Bryson Stott that's starting. Austin Hayes can start in place of Brandon Marsh.
I'm totally fine with Hayes starting. I think that makes a lot of sense.
That's
and
fine.
Bohm, look, you have to go back to Bohm.
Bohm can go back for sure. Give him a chance.
He's a guy that led your team in
him
RBIs.
and Sosa both struggled yesterday.
Yeah.
So go back to Bohm, try him again. But I think I'm going Hayes as the lone change up in terms of the lineup tomorrow.
And we have the NRD working on the splits there. I forgot to do that pre-show. I was reading so much other stuff that I want to see what the actual, if it's a stark enough difference between Sosa and Stott versus the lefties. But obviously Sean Manaea is going to be starting versus Aaron Nola in that game. And we'll give you that information in 1 second.
Yeah, so...
you have it.
Yeah, Stott had 129 plate appearances, 119 at-bats against lefties this year. 25 hits, just 4 extra base hits, a 223, 318, 277 split. Sosa, meanwhile, had 109 at-bats. So they were effectively just about even. Stott had 112, Sosa 109. Sosa had 31 hits, including 16 extra base hits. He drove in 14. He hit 287, 347, 514.
The extra base hits could be the difference maker there. 16 compared to 4. Was that what you just read, I think?
Correct.
Yeah, 16 versus... That's substantial.
Yeah, that is.
The rest of the numbers kind of balance themselves out a little bit.
Does the issue... Edmundo Sosa's chase rate has gone up pretty substantially in probably the second half of the year, but the last 2 months specifically. Pair that with the fact that Stott put together some really strong at-bats yesterday. Does that sway it back in the other
I kind of
direction?
want to capitalize on the moment. And we're going to talk about all this with Jim.
In the chat, I know Dan and some folks are saying they'd actually prefer to see Cody Clemens get a start over Sosa. I think it's the playoffs. You got to go with who's got the hot hand.
And we're going to talk next
Yeah, but
with Jim
are you going to go with a lefty against a lefty in that particular situation? Probably not. If you're starting...
I think, again, they're going based off of who's just been more productive.
Jim Salisbury's coming up next. We'll get to that. But first, let me take a second to tell you about some of our friends here at Empire Today. Fans going to empiretoday.com/PHLY can get $350 off new floors. And if you're like me, you're just kind of done with stores. What's the point of going to the stores when you can have that shop at home convenience? And that's exactly what Empire Today will bring to your house. With their virtual floor designer, they'll come to your door, pull up your room that you're looking for with new floors and show you exactly what it will look like with your furniture, with your, paint colors and your aesthetic in your home. You can see right then and there. You don't have to go to a big box store where you can't get any help and you get overwhelmed. They come to you, and everything they're going to recommend to you is things that they would put in their own house because they want to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with, thousands of samples and you can't even make a decision. You're swimming in so many samples. So listen to them, and they pride themselves on that shop at home convenience, and they service their own warranty. So you're not going to have to track down some manufacturer's phone number. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can get a $350 off discount when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/PHLY for details.
Yeah, and we are brought to you with this Red October by Ace Hardware Home Services. All Red October, because if you've got a leaky pipe, maybe you're dealing with a plumbing issue, air conditioning, electrical issue, Ace Hardware Home Services is the place to go with the hardware folks that can help you out with a great staff of knowledgeable, experienced personnel that have decades of experience helping. So when you do walk into stores, you give them a phone call, you reach out online, wherever you're contacting and getting support from Ace Hardware Home Services, they always are going to have the personnel that can help point you in the right direction. They have the understanding. They want to listen to your goals. They want to make sure that they're supporting you and that you're satisfied from the moment you reach out all the way through to the moment that job and that project is done. They bring helpful to your home. That way you can spend more of your time on the projects that really matter. And they want to make sure that with their experience, they're providing you local plumbers, local techs, and people that can handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to any installations and upgrades. At Ace Hardware Home Services, whenever they are getting ready for the next job, they remember what to bring. They've got all the tools needed, all the equipment. You also can get a free estimate on any equipment installation and replacement that you're looking to get done in your home with trusted advisors and options that are best suited for you and your budget. In addition to all that, if there's an emergency, maybe your pipes freeze and burst, whatever may be going on, they've got emergency services that are always available for when you need them in those big moments. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project with the crew that can help with anything, electrical, plumbing, heating, whatever may be going on. Again, Ace Hardware Home Services.com to get started on your next project.
Yes, this is the PHLY Phillies postseason now podcast, and we are brought to you by AceHardwareHomeServices.com. And we're going to welcome in a friend of the show, Jim Salisbury here. Jim's going to be at every Phillies game, or home game at least, writing, and he's going to be writing a ton on allphly.com. So if you want to become a diehard, it's a great way to support us here, and you get access to absolutely the best writers in the city here. So Jim, just in all your years of baseball, you've seen a lot of games. That has to be up there as one of the most wild, just punch for punch, heavyweight bouts you've ever seen. Just talk about the experience at the ballpark last night, what it was like, and just where it ranks for you as an all-time baseball game that you've seen.
Yeah. It was a great one, no doubt about that. And it was one of those games you look back and you say, hey, I was really lucky to be at that game. And I've been at some great postseason games, guys. I covered that great Oakland A's Yankees game where Jeter made that memorable play to cut down Jeremy Giambi. I was at the 0-1 World Series when the Yankees and Diamondbacks had that epic World Series where Byung-Hyun Kim gave it up a couple nights in a row. Remember that? Tino Martinez, Scott Brocious had those big home runs. I mean, amazing games. And in Citizens Bank Park, Jimmy Rollins, with that game-winning double against Jonathan Broxton. And, of course, Bedlam at the bank. Harper powers that ball through the raindrops to put the Phillies in the World Series. This one is right up there with all of those in terms of just great games. The Phillies, they had so much struggle early in that game, and even going back to the first game of the series. So a game and a half of kind of sleepwalking, kind of chasing pitches, not much offense. And then, all of a sudden Trey Turner has a 2-out single in the sixth, and Bryce Harper doesn't waste it. He homers. And then Nick Castellanos, who goes through this almost personal passion play. where he's booed in the fourth inning. He hits a game-tying home run, and then has three big hits over the course of the latter part of that game, and then walks it off. And the emotion of the ballpark and the fans. I mean, Harper's home run halfway up the batter's eye made that ballpark shake. It was reminiscent of Bedlam at the Bank. So it was a great one. It was a fun one. It was a great one to watch. Both teams slugging it out, and we had a feeling this was going to be a great series. And we got a great series on our hands.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely one for the books, a classic. And since you were down at the ballpark yesterday, I'm curious to know, what are some key takeaways and insight you got from Rob or even from the guys post-game that's encouraging of how they are going to look to build off of now splitting the series to go back at Citi Field, and things that maybe you picked up on that only, for someone like yourself that's down there, you saw firsthand versus what we saw from, watching the game miles away?
Sure. I mean, my big takeaway is probably one we all have. It's a best of 5 series. It's a short series, first 1 to 3 wins. And if you go down 0-2, you are in big, big trouble, especially against that team, because the Mets have gained so much momentum, and, kind of just on fire. And now you have to go to their ballpark down 0-2. Oof. I mean, 1-1 is a world of difference between 1-1 with Aaron Nola on the mound and 0-2 going into Citi Field with Aaron Nola pitching to basically extend the series. So just the scoreboard was my big takeaway. It's a totally different series at 1-1. I mean, Bryce Harper talking to him, he goes, it's ginormous. To win this game is ginormous. It was kind of funny the way he said it. But, but as far as being there and talking to guys in the clubhouse afterward, I would say JT Realmuto was the most insightful. He mentioned that there was a tightness and a tenseness coming into the series. The Mets were so hot, and he kind of mentioned that it kind of followed them through game 1, and it followed them through the first 5 innings of game 2. And when Harper, hit that home run, everybody felt like they could finally breathe and get back to playing their brand of baseball. And then when they got the victory, it was like, phew. So that's my biggest takeaway, that, a big inning, and then another big inning, and the way they went punch for punch and the walk-off victory. It took a team that was grinding and very, very tight and kind of relaxed things and gave them new life. So I think they go to New York feeling like they're right back in this thing thanks to 4 big innings. It was funny. Their bats weren't good the first 5 innings. The last 4 innings, they were very, very good. And Harper's home run got it all going. And the way Nick Castellanos stepped up behind Harper not only won the ball game for the Phillies, but I think it gives the Mets a lot to think about in the rest of the series in terms of how they approach Harper. They're going to think twice before they pitch around him. I still expect them to pitch around him in spots, but do so at your own risk, because Nick Castellanos will hurt you. And yesterday he hurt them and won them a big ball game and changed the series.
Yeah, Jim, you mentioned him, and Bryce Harper is truly in some rare air in baseball history. When you look at his OPS as a Philly in the postseason, it's up to 1.175. If you combine him total with Nationals and Phillies, he's right behind Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth. I'm 40, Jim. I've seen a lot of baseball in this town. I've seen a lot of athletes. I think I can say confidently, I've never seen a more clutch player than Bryce Harper. Can you just talk about him and his clutchness and his proclivity to come up big in the biggest moments? It really is something incredible.
I don't think I'm overstating to say I think he lives for this stuff. He loves the spotlight. He loves the bullseye on his back. I mean, he's had it there since he's been 16, covers Sports Illustrated. He's kind of this guy, if you love him, you love him. And if you're an opposing fan, you hate on him. I mean, he's a good guy. I don't know why anybody would, dislike him, but you know what I mean. As an opponent, it's sort of that Chipper Jones thing. You kind of hate on the good players that can beat you. But like I said, he loves the spotlight.
Vientos currently, Jim,
moments. What do you mean? I'm sorry, you broke up.
Oh, I said, no, I totally get it. I'm sports hating on Vientos right now because he's a good player, and we're going to have to see him for a long time. So I totally get what you mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, is that the phrase sports hating? I like it. It works.
Yeah, because hate people misconstrue as like you hate them personally. It's like, no, I sports hate that guy. I sports hate Pete Alonso. Yeah. Fine guy.
Great phrase. So a lot of people sports hate Bryce Harper. And that's actually a badge of honor. It means you're a damn good player. At least, Shea Stadium used to give Chipper Jones a hard time. Chipper Jones used to get booed everywhere. They only boo good players they don't care about. So anyway, I think Bryce in some ways, like he turned that game around and may have turned that series around yesterday. I think in some ways he feels a responsibility to do that. He loves doing it. It's something it fuels him. He lives for it. But I also think there's a responsibility in that, he came to Philadelphia as this big free agent. And I think with that comes some responsibility. He's never dodged an interview. He's always been accountable. He's kind of a spokesman when he needs to be. I think he sees that as responsibility with the contract. But the biggest responsibility he sees with the contract is to help that team win games and lead that team to wins. And that was a situation yesterday that called for its stars. They were in rough shape, down 3-0, staring at a 0-2 deficit, which, like we said, in the short series is just a mountain. And, Turner, star player, big hit, 2 outs. Harper, the home run. Castellanos, another star player, game-tying home run. And, that whole trio does it again in the late innings with Stott mixing in a big 2-run triple. I think Bryce loves it, sees it as a responsibility, and he has an amazing confidence, an amazing ability to slow big moments down and block out 45,000 screaming people and, give you his best performance. And then when the ball flies over the wall, it's like he's able to bring in those 45,000 people again and enjoy it with them, comes across home plate, big roar, let's go. I mean, he looks at the people in the dugout as his teammates, but I think he also looks at that 45,000 people as his teammates. Like, you're one of us. Come help us. And there's no doubt in my mind that crowd helped them yesterday. You look at Castellanos. He's booed in the 4th inning, and then he's mocked. So he's booed for chasing twice. Then he lays off a pitch in the dirt, and they give him the Bronx cheer. That ticked him off. You could tell he kind of muttered something. The cameras caught him kind of muttering something. But after the game, he really didn't want to talk about it. After the game, he didn't really want to talk about it. You know what he did say? He said, it locked me in. So the fans, helped lock in Castellanos and helped the Phillies win a ball game. They are part of it. They're the 10th man. They are participants here in Philadelphia. They're not just sitting down. They were standing up the whole game. So, Bryce, it's like, standing out in the rain. It's like in the Shawshank Redemption when Christopher Robin stands out in the rain. That's Bryce Harper, man. He stands right out with all the pressure, with all the adulation. And in New York, it's going to be all the hostility. And he's going to take it all in, and it's going to help fuel him in the batter's box. He's a great player. It's been a great signing here. And I hope he gets his World Series championship here someday, because even with all his individual accolades and his greatness, and he's going to go to Cooperstown someday, he knows what it's all about. It's about putting a ring on the finger, and that's what he wants badly.
Yeah. First of all, Shawshank Redemption's one of my top 2 favorite movies. So love that you use.
It's up there. Yeah, definitely.
I love that you use that comparison. Great movie. I know we're talking about all the greatness of yesterday's win, but unfortunately, the first 2 games of the NLDS did bring some concerns, starting with the bullpen that have now allowed 10 earned runs in 6 innings pitched this weekend. Jeff Hoffman, Matt Strom, and Orion Kirkring combined for 8 earned runs they gave up in all of the month of September, and they've given up 10 in 6 innings pitched this past 2 games. Jose Ruiz brought in after Christopher Sanchez is pulled in the 5th inning at just 88 pitches. He's brought in the 6th, gives up a single home run to Pete Alonso. What are your thoughts on the bullpen right now? The starting pitching's been great. Zach Wheeler, as we know, One of the best postseason pitching performances we've seen. Christopher Sanchez followed suit yesterday in his 5 innings, had a solid performance. It's been the bullpen that's really leaking right now, unfortunately, giving up runs and struggling. What are your thoughts, Jim, on the bullpen, the rotation, and even some of the decision-making around like a Jose Ruiz yesterday? There's a lot to unpack with the bullpen, to be honest.
Yeah, start with the decisions. I thought he could have stuck with Sanchez. I thought he could have went to Kirkring there. I was a little surprised to see Ruiz, but they seem to have this plan that certain guys pitch when they're behind and certain guys pitch when they're ahead. I know it kind of got thrown to the wind when they were trading punches and the league was going back and forth in the late innings, but that's the plan they stick to. I was probably more surprised they didn't stick with Estevez when they went to Strom in the ninth. Estevez, I mean, you brought him in to be a big-time late inning guy for you, as Strom is. But, he only threw 8 pitches. I thought they could have kept with him, but he was committed to going back to Strom. Strom and Hoffman and Kirkring, they've all struggled a little bit. We talk about that layoff. I think that's probably one area that the layoff has had an effect on, because relievers thrive on frequency of pitching, frequency of appearances, getting regular work because it keeps their deliveries intact. It allows them to keep their command sharp. And, when they don't get that regular work or off for 4 or 5 days, that stuff can suffer. It's why you'll often hear a manager, you'll look up in maybe a blowout game, one way or the other, and all of a sudden a high leverage reliever is in the game. Well, maybe he hasn't pitched it was 4 or 5 days, and the manager after the game will say, I had to get him in the game. I had to get him some work. Guys need work. So I think we're seeing a little rust there. They've all they've all gotten some work here in the postseason. Maybe that'll help knock off some rust, because they're very important, and they're going to be very important in this Mets series. It is far from over at 1-1, especially going up there. But yeah, all in all, we've seen the offense come around. The rotation's been good, with Wheeler exceptional. But you'd like to see the bullpen get tightened up a little bit, because it's an important factor for all teams in the postseason.
Yeah, Jim, one of the other ones that caught people by surprise a little bit yesterday was Alec Bohm hitting the bench on Game 2 in favor of Edmundo Sosa, and Cody Clemens came in and contributed. There's going to be a lot of maneuvering happening here, especially with 2 lefties up next, Hayes, Sosa. What do you make of the Bohm benching, Rob? And I say benching, and I mean it for one game. He's going back to him in Game 3. Was that to help Bohm a little bit? Maybe he showed some emotions in Game 1 where maybe he's beating himself up a little bit. Do you think that was Rob just kind of knowing the player and almost giving him like a day off for between the ears purposes?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of that there, and I think Bohm was kind of beating himself and carrying over one poor at bat into another at bat, and in a short series where every game is magnified and every win is paramount, you had to get him out of there and try someone else. Sosa didn't have a great game, but either way, Bohm was going to be back in there against the lefty. We'll see if it kind of snaps him out of it a little bit. I mean, I don't, it was all performance is a big part of it, but he wasn't going to perform well with all the frustration he was showing and kind of beating up on himself. So he's got to kind of get past that and get over it. They need him. He's an awfully good player. I'm a big fan. He's an all-star. He got in the game yesterday, had 2 poor at-bats, so he didn't really respond to it well yesterday. We'll see what happens tomorrow night against the lefty, Manaea. Rob mentioned he was looking for some more energy. I think Bohm was, with his kind of frustration, was bringing some negative energy, and he was kind of internalizing that with carrying it over from at bat to at bat. But, also when a team doesn't hit, they look like they have no energy. And boy, if you're struggling to get energy one game into a postseason, you're in trouble. But Harper stepped up and the energy is back. Castellanos stepped up. Turner stepped up. Stott stepped up. The energy has returned. They need to build on it.
How much tinkering do you think there's going to be here in Games 3 and 4 in terms of Hayes and Sosa starting versus Marsh coming in when they get to the bullpen, more righty? Like, how active do you anticipate Rob being here in Game 3 with substitutions, lineup, all of it?
I think a lot of their plan coming in involved some platoons with the lefties. So against Manaea, I think you'll probably see Hayes. Though curiously, Manaea a little tougher on righties than he is on lefties. But a lot of teams do hold back their lefties against him. I think they'll play Hayes. They got him to play against left-handed pitching. I think they'll probably give him a look. But that, the Mets, they have David Peterson, and then the next guy, they only have two lefties in their bullpen, and I don't think they trust the second one that much. So probably going to see a lot of right-handed relievers. So, Marsh is going to get in there. I don't know what they'll do at second with Stott and Sosa, but if they go with Sosa, Stott's going to get in there because there's going to be a righty in that game at some point. So you got to be ready. Stott, having that big triple should really help his confidence. I guess that could throw a wrinkle into a potential platoon at second base in Game 3 if Thompson wants to try to build on Stott's confidence after that big hit and stick with him, and maybe that triple ignites something, a good run.
Actually, talking about that, and Rob better than Renee and I, we both were like, oh, man, that was like the biggest hit Stott's had in a long time. Do you think Rob wants to, say, splits, analytics, all of my gut be damned, and just kind of give the kid a chance to capitalize on it?
It's a good question. It's one I've been pondering myself. I don't know which way he's going to go. I would say it's right down the middle because Rob is really a balance guy between feel and how players feel and intangibles. Balance that off the numbers. He's kind of got both of those in his tool shed there. He uses both of those approaches. So it's going to be a fascinating one. The only thing I can say is if he goes with the matchup and the platoon, Stott will get in that game because they will see righties. And he will have a chance to build on that performance and show that confidence he gained. But maybe Rob sticks with him. His numbers aren't bad against Manaea. Either of Sosa's. They both have had some success in not big sample sizes. But I don't have them in front of me. But I looked them up this morning. Both of them have a couple walks. I think both of them have a home run. It's really interesting. Do you want to stick with the guy who helped us win a big ball game and tell him I believe in you and I think you're on the verge of something big? Or do you want to kind of maybe go with what I think was the pre-series plan, and that's to use the platoon and use Sosa, who has had big moments for this team as well? I almost feel like there's no wrong answer, but time will tell, and ultimately the performance will tell, and I think both guys will have the opportunity to perform at some point in Game 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one. It's going to be a big Rob Thompson series between the bullpen buttons, the tinkering with the lineup. It's going to be great, but it's a whole new series. You got Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola on the mound for 2 of the 3. And Jim, you're going to be writing a ton about the Phillies on allphly.com. Read your story last night when I was just consuming all the Phillies content I could get my hands on. So great stuff. We're looking forward to reading all your writing. You're going to be joining us and Anthony throughout, hopefully a very long postseason run.
Yes.
We appreciate it, buddy. Have a great rest of the Monday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Later, Jim.
Okay, you're welcome, guys. Have a great day. We'll see you.
See ya. There he is. So if you want to consider being a diehard, you can read Jim on allphly.com. We're also going to be getting some contributions from Hannah Kaiser, who is a lady that has been covering baseball for a long time and does a great job at it. And she's going to be at the games in New York for us, writing on allphly.com. So we're bringing you the best out there. So please consider joining allphly.com and becoming a diehard today. All right, Renee, we a lot to digest there from Jim. It is going to be a fascinating Rob 3-game series here because we didn't even get to some more of the questions about Aaron Nola.
Right.
Jose Alvarado hasn't been used yet. Going to Jose Ruiz yesterday as opposed to Alvarado or Kerkering, if you wanted a righty there, was kind of a fascinating decision. Not seeing Alvarado yet is kind of fascinating. And now you're going to be super subbing, because Austin Hayes will probably start. But if they get to a righty in the pen, are you bringing in Marsh? Sosa versus Stott versus Clemens. How you handle all this. Rob Thompson is going to have a magnifying glass over him in these next 3 games.
My only concerns are don't ice out your own guys. So if Bryson Stott right now is one of the guys that offensively is playing well, I think you go with him. I don't think let it be him or even the Mets pitchers that are causing him to give you bad at bats. Don't pull him when
I want to capitalize on it.
Yeah, like build off of that. Don't you be the one that ices him out. And then also take a page out of Nick Sirianni's book and learn from it. Do not overcoach. Don't play cute. Don't try to do too much.
I don't know if you should take anything out of Nick Sirianni's
No, that's what I mean. Learn from him. Learn from Nick Sirianni. Like, take a page out of his book and rip it up, I should say. Because Nick Sirianni has been he's coaching too cute and trying to do too much.
Don't be the smartest man in the room.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple,
And I like how, as Jim was mentioning,
Rob, you're not stupid.
The bullpen there's like specifics of when each guy is supposed to come out, whether they're up, whether they're down, all these game tactics. No, go with whoever's the best in that situation. I don't care if it's a 6th inning, 7th inning, the 8th, whatever it is. In the 6th inning, in that moment, you got to go with who can help get you a scoreless shutout inning.
Yeah, the Alvarado one is very.
And that, to me, I would have rather seen Jose Alvarado or Ryan Kirkering than Jose Ruiz.
It's very interesting because Strom and Hoffman, obviously, you trust implicitly. 2 games do not speak for 164 games where they've been great for 162 of them. But Jose Alvarado finished September throwing the ball pretty well. He has playoff equity with Rob Thompson. He's been spectacular in postseasons before. I do find that a little...
Doing too much. You're doing too much.
I mean, it's tough because Jose has floundered at times this season, but he ended on a good note. He has the playoff equity. I'm frankly shocked we haven't seen him yet. And now do you want to throw him in a situation on the road where Jim's right. The bullpen is the rusty part of this team.
You had to
now,
get him. I'd rather have gotten him out there for an inning than Jose Ruiz.
All right, so say Aaron Nola goes, let's give him 5 2/3, and you need a big couple outs there in the 6th inning. It's 3-2, you're up, 1-run situation. Who are you going to?
Depends on who's up, obviously.
All right, if you need a lefty, are you going to Matt Strom or Jose Alvarado? We're not going to Tanner Banks, right?
No,
he's gone to Tanner Banks more than he's...
To be honest...
Who's the lefty?
If you to me, the bullpen, and I'm still going to trust Strom and Hoffman more than I would obviously trust somebody else. Carlos Estevez, let him rock. If he gives you 8 pitches in an inning, let him go out there a second. Orion, Estevez, Alvarado, Hoffman, and Strom are the 5 guys I need to see. Those are the 5 guys I need to see. I don't go to Strom or Hoffman right away. I'm going to try to avoid. I'm going to Orion or Alvarado.
Part of me wants to see Jose a little bit. Tyler, where are you going?
I need
situation.
To see him.
I mean,
you need a lefty.
There's not a. You're in the playoffs now. There's not a part of me that says I want to see fill in the blank just for purposes. Yeah. And I get the idea of
he's been one of your guys. It's not like he's a scrub.
I don't want to see Tanner Banks, Ruiz, or definitely not Kobe Allard unless the Phillies are up by 5, 6 runs.
I think I'm going to the guy that you feel comfortable in a high leverage situation is, I think, of course, you're going to use matchup numbers and, of course, you're going to use lefty-righty splits. But you guys know I've talked about this all the time. I'm a huge proponent of the next out is the most important out.
So you're going strong.
If you don't believe that Jose Alvarado is your next important out guy, then you go elsewhere. If you feel like he is, then you go to him.
Well, Rob has told us all that Jose Alvarado is down on the trust tree pecking order.
Sure. So it's wild.
It's interesting. All right, we're wrapping up here. The AL, before we get to last night's Padres-Dodgers game, and that series is getting spicy. The AL back at it today. Cole Reagans versus Rodon for the Yankees-Royals game. And then in Tigers-Guardians, you got your boy Tarek Skubal versus Boyd. Hard not to like the Tigers' chances there with Skubal on the mound. I haven't looked at the Bet365 numbers on them. Let's see what the odds are.
Learn from the Phillies.
The Tigers are minus 130. And the Yankees with Rodon are minus 155. Those are the 2 favorites today.
Tigers, learn from the Phillies with Zach Wheeler's incredible performance and give your guy some run support. Tarek Skubal should be a great pitcher today that can help, honestly,
minus
shut them
130
down.
Is tempting.
Give him some run support, you win that game.
Yeah, they got nothing off of Tanner Bybee the other day, and the offense was pretty lifeless. And we talked about it, Renee, on Friday, how good that Cleveland bullpen is.
Oh, yeah.
You can't allow this to get into a 6th or 7th inning with a low-scoring game. That bullpen will shut you down, especially with the guy in the back end of the bullpen that has given up 4 runs in the rest, in his career at this point. Clase has been so darn good.
Yeah. So you taking the Tigers?
I mean, I think it's hard not to with a guy like Skubal on the mound. He kind of has that, like, going to will his team to win a game. I think I probably would. I think I would stay away from it if I were betting, but, like, just who do I think wins game 2?
Gotta make a bet, coward.
If I'd say who do I think is going to win game 2, I would take the Tigers, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tigers. If they don't put themselves in a 5-run deficit in the first inning, I think they you got to lean on Tarik Skubal. You got to get him some run support, win this game, and you have to win game 2. Much like everybody else that's down 0-1, got to win game 2, and I'm going to go. I actually think Yankees might extend this to 2-0.
You lose this game with your ace on the mound, I think you might have a realistic chance to get swept.
And to all of our Roku and Samsung viewers out there, thank you for your time. We're going to continue on here for another second, but we appreciate all of you for tuning in today to this edition of the PHLY Phillies podcast. Brought to you by Ace Hardware.
Yeah, head over to our website for more as we are going to get into the Padres-Dodgers.
Yeah, real quick, I got to talk about that because that was some good baseball playoff theater last night. The Padres just absolutely mauled the Dodgers with 6 home runs and some great, look, I can't believe Phillies fans went out to L.A., put on Dodgers jerseys and threw things at Fernando Tatis in the bullpen and then got into all these brawls, leaving Chavez Ravine. I can't believe Phillies fans would do that when our own team is playing. But apparently they went out there and were just acting a fool in L.A. But it was on the field, too. Manny Machado and Jack Flaherty were screaming at each other. Machado's telling them to meet him in the tunnels. Some really good baseball hatred right there. This series is kind of turned into must-watch TV.
I love this. First of all, to your point, Philly fans are not the only ones
Why
across
would you spend
sports
all that money
do
to go out there,
ridiculousness.
guys?
We're not the only ones throwing things on field and having brawls. I've seen so many fights in stands, and they're not Phillies fans. I've seen it in the NFL. We've now seen it in Major League Baseball playoffs. A lot of fights that are happening, and it's not, again, the Phillies. Also, to your point, the moment that Jerks and Profar robbed Mookie Betts of that home run, stared down the crowd, bouncing up and down with and nobody knew if he caught it or not, was the moment I'm like, oh yeah, the Padres are different. They are built different. This is a scary team. I tweeted this out. If they are able to play like that consistently in this playoffs,
they're scary.
I don't know who's going to beat them. And I even say that with all hopes that the Phillies can beat them and obviously get there and beat them.
No, they're loaded.
Jackson Merrill became the youngest player to hit a home run in a Padres postseason history at 21 years old. He had in his first career home run for Jackson Merrill, but then also went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Kyle Higashioka, 3rd home run of the postseason for the catcher. The 6 home runs they hit.
When he hit that home run,
record.
I noticed Darvish claps like a caveman.
Oh, I mean, listen.
Did you see him after that home run? He was going like this.
Maybe he was like, I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but hey, when you
very weird.
When you get through 7 innings for the 3rd time in your career in a postseason start, you can clap however you want to clap, you Darvish. And then also for the Padres to have postseason records for 6 home runs for any club, for their club specifically. Incredible. And on the other side, the Dodgers, Freddie Freeman exits the game.
His ankle's all jacked up.
He's had so many injuries lately, and it's been tough times for the Dodgers.
Going through it physically.
The Padres, man, I was literally like shook.
Yeah, they're
a little
good.
nervous.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Holy moly.
I think all of us kind of agreed it was going to be Padres Phillies in the NLCS. We'll see if that happens. And Mickey Durkin says in the chat, and everybody in that chat, hit that thumbs up button before you get out of here. If you're from Rat City and want to hit the thumbs down button, that's fine too. But Manny Machado did huddle the team together in the dugout as like a rallying cry for the team. And boy, oh boy, did they respond. Home run after home run.
The squad.
And if I'm Jack Flaherty, I don't,
no.
You didn't pitch that great, and Manny Machado's bigger than you.
Yeah, I'm not telling Manny Machado meet me in the tunnel. Don't meet me anywhere. But
I'm taking Machado there as a minus 240 favorite in that fight.
That is how you rally the troops. Shohei Ohtani, I know Linda saying in the chat, 0 for 4. Like, this
Mookie's
is the way.
0 for his last 22, I think, now with that.
This is how you silence the Dodgers, the golden children of Major League Baseball. You silence them. I love that Fernando Tatis Jr. hits that home run, does his own little bat toss.
He was twerking in the outfield.
He was trolling the fans.
It was kind of cool to watch.
He was like, it was awesome. But this is what playoff baseball is all about. The emotions, the excitement. It's like put up or shut up. And I love trash talking. I love that they're rallying. I know the Phillies aren't those guys as much, but I'm not gonna hold you like the Padres. I'm like, this is what I love to see. Like, leave it all out there: the passion, the trash talk, the trolling.
Yeah, it was good baseball
it's
theater last
exciting.
night. So
It's exciting.
That's
Hopefully
a good
Phillies
one.
Padres series.
I'd prefer the
future.
Dodgers win, honestly, because I think they're more beatable, and which is
At
crazy
this
to say
rate.
with two of the best baseball players on planet Earth on their team. But the Padres again seem like, look, everybody's going to be tough that you play.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Of
So the Padres hopefully didn't get that Mets magic last night, and we'll see.
They even have it much more than just some Mets magic.
Yeah, good times ahead. So tomorrow, Gall & Co. Brought to you by our friends at Miller Lite. The Gall & Co. There's 2 locations, Rockledge and Port Richmond. We're going to be in Port Richmond. It's a really cool bar, old church, high ceilings, great TVs, Miller Lite's
Huge
flowing.
venue.
Pre-game at 4:30. We're going to be hanging out during the game. Post-game immediately after the game from Gall & Co. So hopefully you can join us and hang out. It's going to be a great time. We got you covered for pre and post game Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday is an off day. Hopefully the Phillies finished a 3-1 win, and we can start talking about an NLCS.
That'd be nice.
But if not, we'll be here Thursday at 11 a.m. and then Friday TBD, the weekend TBD. Our schedules are
It's all based on the
beholden to the
Phillies.
Phillies.
Yeah.
So where they go, we will follow. So that's going to do it for us here today. And again, thanks to Ace Hardware Home Services for bringing you this Red October special. For Tyler Zulli, Renee Washington, I'm Jamie Lynch. Have a great rest of the Monday, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow for pregame at 4:30 from Gall & Co. in Port Richmond.
We all silly like the mayor.